This is a workshop series called The Body Electric, and I stole that title from a Walt Whitman poem called I Sing the Body Electric, and it's a wonderful celebration of the body and soul inseparable. So through these 8 sessions, we're going to look at a few different books, and in the first 15 minutes or so of each segment, we'll be reading and discussing. So this first book, Expressive Movement, is of the most influence to the titles of the chapters and a lot of what we're trying to unpack. And it is written by Alexandra and Roger Pierce. And even being well over a decade into practicing yoga, this book sort of lit my mind up with new ways to look at things. Its companion book is called Generous Movement. That's one of the sessions we'll be looking at. And then Guiding Strala, a system of movement that I studied with Tara Stiles and Mike Taylor in New York. And it's about moving with ease and being natural with your body and making friends with your body. Be Here Now by Ram Dass is a beautiful illustrated book that will be providing us some supplemental material as well. This workshop is about movement. And we think about movement as something like maybe riding a bicycle, throwing or catching a football, but we're actually moving all the time. So even as you're watching this video, it's not just your eyes watching a video, but your whole body, the way you're breathing, how your shoulders are held, the way you're holding your head. So we'll start to take a look at those things and ways that we can release the habitual tension and stress that we take on in our daily lives. So we'll look at learning how to move rather than learning how to pose. That demystifies this whole process of learning a bunch of names of poses, and we'll just get into our bodies moving and feeling. And we'll create a sequence from that. So something that's individual to you, that makes you feel good, that's realistic and short enough for you to practice at home and have fun with. And we'll also look at modifications and props as something that can help support your yoga. Session 2 is Lifted by Gravity and Balance. So in this session, we'll play with making shapes from different orientations. So maybe we'll be on our hands sometimes and our feet and forearms and shins, and using the body in different ways, harmonizing with gravity, making friends with gravity, because gravity can actually lift and lengthen us as well as make us feel easier as we move. Session 3 is Ideals and Perceptions. This is about starting where you are and practicing kindness with yourself. We will be looking at the transition from self-consciousness to self-awareness and how that serves our lives. And we'll also feel more perceptive and fluid in our surroundings and look at feeling from the inside out. So moving to having an inner experience with our yoga and our movements. And the physical practice is used as a way to get in a deeper touch with ourself and our inner experience. So section 4 is Generous Movement. We've got a whole book and a whole chapter to unpack here. But when we're looking at generosity as the true ideal, we're looking at a practice of self-love, ease, and openness. And a generous person lives from a core of creativity and growth. It's something we can all aspire to. So through this practice, we will be finding freedom through form rather than in spite of form. That our body can actually be one of the tools where we find freedom. Session 5 is core support. This is where we're learning how to mobilize our strength by moving from the center. We'll look at toning and engaging the core throughout our movements, and we'll also look at different energy and anatomical models of the core. So we'll kind of compare where we're getting energy from and the body parts that we're using to move around from there. We'll also just work with finding balance along the vertical axis and play with that. So reverberation and phrasing, that's the vitality in our body. That's the shimmer of action. So we're going to look at that as it relates to the movements we're making and the breaths that we're taking. We're also going to use and learn some simple breathing techniques that you can use anywhere. So whether you're at home, driving, at work, techniques that can bring peace to the foreground of the mind and bringing back back to that space in yourself. Session 7 is deafness, moving with grace and precision. So we'll look at this from a place of creating deeper self-awareness, and that means just clearing out some of the cobwebs of our inattentiveness, where we're not paying attention, and our habits, where we are used to doing things a certain way. And we'll notice how that affects our lightness as we move, as well as our lightness of impact, how our feet hit the ground when we walk, how our hands touch the ground and objects, and it should be fun. Our last session is touch. Not just the tactile sense of the word, but looking at how we act and feel in a sensory world. And touch actually improves our actions, but we learn that to give and receive is inseparable. No one can touch without also being touched. I love this quote from Expressive Movement. We want to enter into new activities spontaneously and instantly, with bodies that are straightforward expressions of consciousness. Attention focused outward, the painter absorbed in paint, the scholar in thought, the woodcutter in chopping, the lover in loving, entirely mobilized without self-consciousness or self-indulgence, generously. A finger that points at the moon and is interested in the moon, not in itself. We'll discuss also the dark night of the soul, a time where sometimes new awakenings can bring feelings of loneliness, sadness, or disconnection. And we'll find that rather than this being an instant source of happiness and healing, that by undoing our systems of recoil, our habitual responses to stress that aren't serving us, that are injuring us, making us sick, by undoing those things, we will create that winter enduring foliage. We'll create the substance that will last us through cold winters and warm springs of awakenings and growth, and continue to weave bonds of love and healing with the world, as well as be able to continue to go deeper into ourselves and our practice. Revolution Yoga. Come on in. You can always find mats at discount retailers like TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and other props, but we have those for you to use, so there's no upfront costs. Come and yoga. I personally love the minimalistic beauty of Revolution. It makes me feel at ease and comfortable anytime that I'm there. And being comfortable is a big deal. So think about that when you're putting on your clothes for the workshop. So you want to be able to move. That's the biggest thing. So your pants can be stretchy and snug or loose and relaxed. But you want to be able to go here and there without any interference of your clothes. And being careful if something is too loose that it might come over your head. So we'll play around a lot with different shapes in the body, and you might want to experiment at home just to find out what feels most comfortable for you to come to class in.